Cama, dale pa' atrás, bien maya, mi alma. Machica más, dale pa' atrás, bien maya, mi alma. Que sigue en cambio. Nunca negaré tu presencia. Eres mía, soy tuya. Y en seguridad no te hablo. Mía, 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 mía. Tengo ganas de serte mía, 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 mía. Quítame mi bebé. Hasta que me da un fucking dummy, yeah. Eso, uno. Que me mata el corazón, linda, como brinda. Un momento de amor.
No sé si muestre, quitar el estrés, no sé si muestre, quitar el estrés. Ese culito me tiene loco, coco, ya pide que me lo cene. Loco, coco, Netflix, hagamos una peli, tele. Loco, coco.
I'm an idiot. I forgot to press the different scene. What up, fam? What's going on? Change it right here. Janessa, what's up, familia? Nefertiti, que lo que la vaina. I don't know, you don't speak that, but it's cool. What's going on, y'all? How we're doing? It's a party. Thank you guys for showing up to the stream. I appreciate you guys. Shit. I'm gonna drink this water really quick. A party of knowledge. Hey, put that shit on a shirt. A party of fucking knowledge. What's going on, guys? How are you guys? How is everybody doing? Nefertiti, I'm sorry I missed your stream. I was like prepping and make sure I didn't fuck up this stream once again. But we did it. We here. Awa. You're never gonna let that down, are you? Okay, that's fine. Hey, Social 77. What's going on, brother? How you doing? Shout out to everybody who's here in the fucking chat room for coming through. Thank you guys for showing up, man. I really appreciate it. It's going to be a fun stream. It's going to be a short stream, but it's going to be a very fun, super sweet stream. I'm going to be talking about sampling a cappella vocals. And it's going to be super cool. I'm going to teach you guys kind of like this is, by the way, it's specifically for Ableton Live. So if you don't have Ableton Live, I'm sorry. Because I think Ableton Live is like the GOAT when it comes to like just sampling anything. And I'll be using this thing right here, which is a push. Actually, I should probably turn it on. But I'll be using this thing right here, you know, just to kind of like make things a little bit easier for me. Is this shit now? Oh, I didn't connect it. But yeah. But you know the vibes. My hair is a different color than from last stream. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but we decided to go for the gender reveal. You know what I'm saying? the Bubblicious Cotton Candy. I don't know if you guys remember the Bubblicious Cotton Candy, but I'm going for that look specifically. There's a lot of colors going on right now, but it's all good as part of the vibe. Hey, Janessa, you're using Ableton? Let's go. Shout out to fucking Janessa using fucking Ableton. It's the GOAT. It's the goated DAW of all time. So you made the right choice. You made the best choice. But yeah, man, we are gonna be talking about sampling on this motherfucker, using Ableton specifically. And yeah, it's gonna be fun. So Janessa, I'm really happy that you're using Ableton now, because you're gonna learn some shit today, and it's gonna blow your fucking mind. Especially when I first started using Ableton for sampling, it just put me on just a different place when it comes to just making music and being creative and shit. But how are you guys? How are you guys doing? Fuck me. I want to know about you guys. How was your week? How were you guys? Have you guys made any music? Anything crazy happened during the week? Put it in the chat below. Let me know what's going on. Better than FL Studio. It is. So no, I'm just kidding. I love all the DAWs. I have no hate towards any of the DAWs. Just Ableton does things way better than other DAWs. Like for one, sampling acapella vocals, which is what I'm going to show you guys today. Just sampling really anything, drums, sampling vocals, sampling fucking loops and shit like that. It's just a goated when it comes to that kind of stuff. But yeah, tell me about your days, guys. How's everyone doing? What's going on? Anything new? Did anybody make any dope music? Nefertiti, how are you doing? I haven't heard from you in a minute. Nefertiti was telling me that people were asking me from last stream or whatever. She said, "You have to do it. You gotta do these streams, bro. You can't miss one day." So Nefertiti, thank you for that, for scolding me on that. Because I really, I didn't. I mean, it's great that people are learning this stuff. You know, I'm just here to provide a service. That's all. Let's see. Doing great. Working on recording my cajon kit. First attempt went okay, but more work to do. Live recording is new to me. Let's fucking go! That's what I fucking love to hear, yo. That's what I fucking love to hear. Oh my God. If you need any help with that, social, just please let me know. I can walk you through the whole thing as well. Recording the cajon kit. Live recording is not easy, all right? Especially when you first start getting into it. It's definitely something not for the weak. But it's just something that the more you do it, the better you get at it. You start noticing different things. I scheduled a 25-track album for release. God damn, 25 tracks, Janessa. What are you trying to do? That's a lot of music. You got music in the vault? What's going on? Put it out right now. I want to hear some of that stuff. You have something to offer. I'm a wild. That's pretty wild. I'm not gonna lie. That's pretty wild. But you know what? It's ambitious, and I love ambition. All right. So fucking. I can't wait to hear it. I can't wait to hear. What is the album actually called? That's what I want to know. 25 songs. What is it called? It better be something like quarter of your life or something, or 25% out of I don't know. Some shit. She trying to compete with Drake and Kanye for longest album. You don't need to do that. You don't need to do that, Janessa. You are Janessa. You don't got to be Kanye or Drake. You are you. It's called Potions. Ooh, why Potions? Why Potions? Where does Potions come from? Are you casting spells? Are you casting spells? We call those brujas. It's called Potions. It's just called Potions. Potions 25 to life. 25 to life potions. But you know what? I'm going to clap it up for you, because 25 songs is a lot. Like I said, I love the ambitions. Why you bring... Yo, Nefertiti always brings Drake into everything, bruv. Bruv. Stop bringing Drake into everything. I know that's your husband, but you know what? I'm here. Yo, well, yeah, you need to be a little bit crazy. You need to be a little bit crazy to do this shit, specifically that stuff. But I'm definitely about it. All right, cool. What we got? We got 5 viewers in this. Thank you guys for everyone for popping into the stream. I appreciate it. If you are in the stream, throw some fire emojis down below so I know you're here, you're well, you're alive, you're present, and you are here for some knowledge. whatever knowledge I can provide for you guys. And hopefully you guys are learning some shit from all these things. It's an ongoing process, especially for me. I'm learning how to present the knowledge as much as possible. So just thank you guys for showing up. Yeah, and just that's literally 90% of all the stuff is just showing up. All right, so bring this down a little bit. Today I want to go over sampling. Sampling has been like one of those things when I discovered how to do it, and when I fucking when I not necessarily mastered sampling, because I don't think you can really master sampling, but when I fucking tapped into it and when I fucking just got the hang of it, with Ableton specifically, it just became this thing that I use either in small quantities or bigger instances with my productions and stuff. So I want to kind of talk to you guys about the sampling and how I use it and how I utilize it, and maybe you guys can utilize it yourselves in your productions and stuff. Yes, Nefertiti, I appreciate you with the fire emojis. You are presente. And yeah, it's gonna be very it's gonna be very basic. I mean, not very. I guess not that basic. I guess it's maybe you guys might not know about it, but it's gonna be entertaining. It's gonna be knowledgeable, and you guys are gonna fuck with it. So, all right, let's get right into this, guys. So let's see right here. So there was one thing that I actually wanted to talk to you guys about in terms of sampling. There's this. So if you guys ever find yourself wanting to do like remixes, sampling your own vocals, sampling somebody else's vocals, maybe Nefertiti wants to fucking remix a Drake song and put it kind of her own style and her own kind of flair into it. You can do that very easily. As far as extracting vocals from like WAV files and stuff or songs and stuff, there's a website that I want to show you guys before I get into actually showing you how to sample, because it's a cool thing to kind of inspire people to want to sample, because I know a lot of people find it very difficult to like, oh, I really love this song and I really want to sample it, but I don't know how to, take out the vocals away from the instrumentation. And obviously legally you have to do it within the confines of copyright laws and legalities and shit like that, but it's something that you can do just for fun if you want to just fuck around with vocals, and sometimes things like that inspire you. One thing that I do a lot of is I usually take a song that I really like and I remove the vocals from the production, and then I take away the production and I kind of produce my own kind of style over that vocal from that song that I really liked. Maybe choosing different chords, maybe choosing different rhythm, maybe choosing a different BPM, making it slower, making it faster, maybe pitching it down, maybe adding a verse to that song with your production added into it. It's just so many different things that you can do and so many different possibilities when it comes to sampling and extracting the vocals and messing around with acapellas and stuff. So I want to show you guys that pretty much what I do. And there's this website that's really fucking dope. It's called Audio Strip. Now, Audio Strip is this website right here. It's a free website that you can use to basically isolate your instrumentals and the vocals from a song that you have, or a song that you really really like. And it's really easy. You pretty much just drop in a song here, and it gives you the option to isolate the vocals from the instrumentals, which means you can separate the two, or you can be a little bit more specific, and you can separate the vocals, the bass, the drums, and other elements of the song, right? And I'm not going to use because for copyright purposes, I'm not going to use a song that's already out there in like the world or anything like that. But I'm going to use my songs, and I'm going to kind of show you that thing. I'm also going to kind of plug in my. I'm going to do like what is it called? A selfless plugin? Whatever. It's a plug for the company that I work for that you can also utilize if you can't necessarily use commercial music that's out there like a Drake or whatever, for stuff that you want to put online for your vlogs or for what have you. But you can use this website for it. And Nefertiti knows a website which is called Epidemic Sounds. But I'll get into that. But for example, you have this website right here called Audio Strip, and it's very easy. I'll show you really quick. So for example, let's say there's a song that you really like, right? I'm going to go to one of my songs, right? Now, this is, again, selfless plug, epidemicsounds.com. It's the site where I basically do a lot of my work on, and, I'm signed to these guys. They're a music tech company, but they also act as a label as well. And they basically have a lot of copyright music that you can use for whatever it is that you want to do it for, whether it be for vlogs, whether it be for um, uh, vlogs. What else? Fucking TV, film, stuff that you do online, YouTube live streaming and stuff like that. You can totally use it for all this stuff, and you won't get striked on YouTube. So I'm gonna take one of my songs for example. This song right here I wrote last year called Beleng. All right, so like you can go up here. It's a bunch of stuff that you can do on this website, by the way. You can go here, discover a bunch of different things, different styles of music, um, cinematic music, dramatic music, music for vlogs, music for storytelling, music for comedy, just a bunch of different things that this website has available. It also has things that you can use for, and different genres as well. So if you want something like more hip hop, you want something a little more country, you want electronica, it has all different kinds of styles of music, and they'll get even more specific to what you're trying to look for as well. Everything from like jitterbug, polka, show dance. I don't even know what the fuck that is. Solo instruments, religious music, dramatical classical music, cha-cha, calypso. It's just so many different things that you can do with this website for film, rock music, different styles of rock music, different styles of country music. It's just so many different things that you can use that it's like a goated kind of thing. It also has sound effects, which you know how people do those like little videos and stuff on like Instagram where they have like the captions like underneath, and they put those like different sound effects that go with those captions and stuff. You can all find that all that stuff here as well. And they have just a shit ton of things that you can use this website for. So it's very convenient to use. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to take one of my songs. I'm going to go back here, and I'm basically going to show you guys how to use this website right here to extract acapella vocals and dive right into sampling those acapella vocals into whatever you want to do. So I'm going to look up myself. Lord Ito. Right? And then I'm going to click on me, and then I'm going to specifically use what song I'm going to use. Oh, that's not that. I'm going to go down to this song called Belen. It's a song I wrote and I produced last year, I believe, or the year before that. And you can play the song. Right, you can go through the song, see if you like it, check it out, all that good stuff. So I want to take this song or a song that I want on the website, and I just go here to download, and it gives you the option to download the entire wave file, or you click on here and you can download all the stems separately. So you have your melody, which is the vocals, you have the instruments, you have the bass, and you have the drums. So you can do that individually, or you can download the WAV file. So first I'm going to download the WAV file. All right, it's super easy. You download it, boom, it's in there. And then what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to go back to this website called Audio Strip. And again, we're not going to use a song that's already out, or I'm not going to use a commercial song so I can get striked or anything like that. So I'm going to use my song as well. But you can use this with any songs that you want to sample. And you basically just go to the song, drag that motherfucker in there, and then you click extract. And it's that simple. And you're not a robot, clearly. I hate this shit. Clearly, I'm not a robot, bro. I'm clicking the buttons. And yeah, and it'll take like a little bit to like upload it and to extract everything. I want to show you guys how it looks. When you are extracting vocals from an instrument, make sure that when you extract the vocals that they are WAV files. The reason for that is the WAV file for that song will have way more information than an MP3, which is way more compressed. So if you get a WAV file, it's a bigger file, but it'll have way more information, and it will extract the vocal from the instrument way more accurately than if you use an MP3 file. Because if you use an MP3 file, it's gonna just sound like crap. It's gonna sound like a motherfucker recorded it in like a basement in, I don't know, Afghanistan or some shit. So make sure that when you're extracting vocals that it is done as a WAV file. So you have all that information from that WAV file. And I didn't even know that it was AI based. That's weird, but it is AI based. So the more you know, right? Let's see. I'm just gonna keep doing it. I just want to show you guys how it's gonna look. It's probably gonna take a little bit, but anyway, I'm gonna go back to this. So say for example you extracted the vocal, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to Epidemic Sounds and I'm going to download just the vocals for this song right here. So you have the song. All right, cool. You have all the instrumentation and all that stuff. I'm going to download just the WAV file of the vocal. I'm going to click download. And I'm going to get the vocal. Let me see if this stuff hopped up already. No, not yet, but I'll show you anyway. Yes, the basement in Afghanistan is not a place you want to record. Okay, so. Better. Okay, so. Let's go right into the whole sampling aspect of this thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the file that I downloaded, which is this vocal melody right here. And it also tells you on here like the BPM of the song. So the BPM is 100 BPM. So I'm going to go to Ableton really quick, and I'm going to make sure that my BPM is on 100, and it is on 100 BPM. I'm just going to label this a vocal track. And then I'm going to drag and drop the vocal track into here. Boom, I got my vocal track. I'm going to turn on my metronome and I'm going to play it. I'm going to make sure that is more or less on in time.
Baby, ya se acabó. Tú no tienes que dejar a él por mí. Y baby, ya no lo compliques. Quiero disfrutarte una vez más aquí. Solo tú y yo esta noche celebrando a ti. Belén, ven, guan, guan.
So for the most part, it sounds like everything is in time. Okay. Now, there are some cases where you will get acapellas, right? If you get an acapella from like a song that you don't necessarily know the BPM or all this stuff, there are certain things that you can get around that will, that certain softwares that you can download that'll kind of tell you and kind of like analyze what the BPM of the song might be. I actually have it right here, and it's called Mixed in Key. So if you ever want to get a song, the rip here and Ableton, I always forget. Yes, always remember to set the correct BPM for the songs, especially when you're sampling, because usually it's that simple. Like usually like you'll mess up like the sampling and things might not sound right, and things you might get uninspired just because of the fact that you simple things like the BPM and everything is not correct. But if you don't know the BPM of a song, you get this thing called Mixed in Key. And Mixed in Key, what it pretty much does is you can drag a song into here, and then it'll analyze the song. It'll do it super quick. Oh, I gotta update it. And it'll tell you the tempo of the song, and it'll tell you the key of the song as well. That's another thing that you can that you should be aware of as well, especially when you're sampling and you want to put like chords, or you want to put chords or a bass line underneath it. You want to make sure that you also know what the key is of the song as well. But it tells you right here, the tempo is 100, and then the key, it says 12A, and then you go to your Mixed in Key wheel right here, and you go to 12A, which is, I don't know how to fucking read. Oh, here it is. And it says it's C sharp and D flat minor. So C sharp minor, D flat minor. So it's in the key of C sharp minor, because I know that because I wrote the fucking song. So mixing key is a really cool tool, especially for sampling. So just to review really quick before I get into this whole thing, it's audio strip, boom, boom. So you can extract the vocals from the instrumentation, and then you have mix and key, so you can identify what the tempo is of the song and what the key is of the song. Sometimes the mix and key might fuck up a little bit and not really get the BPM correct most of the time, or the fucking key. It could be one or the other. But the great thing about Ableton is that you can literally fix that within this DAW. And now I will want to introduce you to something called warping. Janessa, if you're using Ableton, or Nefertiti, I'm pretty sure you've used Ableton before because you have a push. There is something called warping, where it pretty much, it's this little toggle button right here. So you'll have like your sample, and you have your vocal or whatever, and before you even get into doing the chords, before you get into adding stuff on top of the sample, you want to make sure that everything is in time. You have the pieces of the sample that you want, because you're not going to use the whole thing to sample. And if you do, then you might be just as crazy as Janessa making 25 LP album, 25 track LP album. But you want to make sure that you have your foundations all set in place before you even start the sampling process. So Ableton, what it does so fucking brilliantly is that it is able to warp, which is warping is basically is an art in itself. Warping, it's one of those things that's super fucking tedious, but the more you do it, the better you get at it, and the easier things become. Now I use like the push for my sampling, because it just makes it more fun. It makes it easy, and it's a little more versatile, and you just play around with like the buttons. And I'll show you what I mean by that as well. But for here on the screen, we'll have our vocal sample right here, a cappella, and I'm going to just press the button warp, boom. So what warping does, it basically warps your a cappella to the grid, or to the BPM of the song. And let's say that I want to pick certain parts of the song that I want. Usually when I'm sampling, I like to pick two parts. I like to pick like a kind of like the hook of the song. Usually people go with the hook and maybe like a verse of the song, for example. So I want to pick I want to grab like the hook of the song. So let me see. I'm gonna scan through it really quick.
Belén, ven, guaguanco. 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 Solo tú y yo esta noche celebrando a ti. Belén, ven, guaguanco. Belén, yo esta. Solo tú y yo.
So that's like the pickup. But this is really, I'll keep it simple too. So this is really what I want. So let's just loop that really quick for a quick second, because I think that sounds like a dope kind of part of the song that I would sample, right? All right, cool. So I have the part that I want. I'm just going to keep it very simple. I'm not going to go for another verse. But if you wanted to pick another part of the song, like I said, you get like kind of like what we were talking about, like songwriting, where you have like an A section and a B section, kind of treating remixing the same way, right? You kind of want an A section, which is your hook, the main part of the song when you're sampling, and then like your B section could be like a verse. I'm gonna grab this. I'm gonna grab that part just for shits and giggles. I'm going to take away that part, and I'm going to take away this part. And then I'm going to take away that part. Okay, so I have two parts here, but I'm going to mainly focus on this one right here. Let's see what the chat's talking about. True, true, true. I have to remember to set the correct BPM. Yes, 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 yes. And I'm going to leave this all the way over here because we'll get back to it somewhere sometime, someday. But I want to really focus on this right here. It's just to keep things a little more simple. But we have this loop right here. I believe it's a 4-bar loop. I'm going to loop it. I'm going to give it 4 bars. Oopsie daisies.
Belém, bem, guaguanco. Belém, bem, guaguanco. Belém, bem, guaguanco. Solo tú.
Let me see. Can I loop that part? Oh, that's why. Oh, wait. I forgot to tell you that. So you pick the part that you want. Da 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 da. You get the sample, and then you're gonna go right click on the clip. Listen, I'm hungry as hell, Nefertiti. You have no idea. I forgot to eat today because I've just been working all day today. But I'm gonna eat after this because I'm a fat piece of shit. Anyway, so yeah, I'm grabbing this part, and I'm going to when you grab the sample part that you want, so you can avoid all that other extra sampling or the extra music or the extra acapella. You press crop the clip, and cropping the clip will just minimize all that space, all that extra stuff, and you can keep it to just this part. And right here, if you look at it on the left side over here, when I click this loop button, the length is now a 4-bar loop. All right, so you get a 4-bar loop, you get an 8-bar loop, whatever the case is. But with sampling, you kind of want to keep it very simple in the beginning. Like as you get more advanced and shit, you get more like crazier with like what you're sampling. But in the beginning, for this specific purpose, we're gonna keep it super simple, and we're gonna just stick with a 4-bar loop to sample. Now, I have my 4-bar loop. Now I want to basically warp. Now what warping is you see this little yellow like toggle thing over here. And they have in each transient within the sample, within the acapella, they have these little arrows that pop up here, right? If you see these right. And when you double click them, right? You double click them and you're double clicking on the transient that the that Ableton recognizes from the acapella or from the sample or from the loop, right? So what I want to do is I want to make sure that I'm dragging these markers, warping. You're warping the sample to the BPM. Now it's already warped. It's already on the BPM. Like the song and the sample's already on beat when you play it, right? But say if I didn't want like this space right here, like this little upbeat part right here, and I just wanted to go right into Belém Bang Guaguanco, right? What I would do is I would take off this part, and now I have this part, and I'm able to drag me. I'm able to drag the sample to where I want it within this loop part right here, right? And I want it to start on Belém Bang Guaguanco instead of having the Belém Bang Guaguan, that little upbeat part or downbeat, whatever the fuck it is. So I'll drag this to the 1. I'll drag this part to the 1. And now when I press play, so now instead of Belém Bang, so it'd be like 1 Belém Bang Guaguanco. It's going Belém Bang Guaguanco, Belém Bang Guaguanco, Belém Bang Guaguanco, Belém Bang Guaguanco. Right. So you have the versatility of moving your sample where you want it to be. So I'm gonna keep it like that, right? And for every like one, 2, every quarter note. For every quarter note, I'm going to put a warp marker on it, right? So I have this first warp marker here. Second warp marker is going to be here. I'll do another one here. So every quarter note is what I'm doing. And you can drag it, right? So you can kind of like make, like if you want to make a part of the sample, like kind of like weird sounding, right? But you don't want that because it's going to sound dumb. You just kind of warp it to every quarter note. So these are quarter notes right here. So it'll be like 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, right? and so on and so forth. So you're warping them to the grid as close as possible. All right. So just grabbing, just listening, and it's very tedious. You're listening a lot. You have to make sure that everything is on beat. All right. And do it right here. Boom. Drag that there. Drag that here. And then you move this part here. Right? Okay, cool. So now that you've pretty much warped your song how you want it, right? Very simple. So everything is in time now, all right? Now, the great thing about warping is that your ability to manipulate the sample however the fuck you want. Once you get it down to this warping stage, and once you get it down to how you want it to be in time, then you can get funky with it, right? So what you do here is under this like warp button right here, there's this thing called beats, and this drop down menu pops up. And in the drop down menu, you have beats, tones, texture, repitch, complex, and complex pro. I'm not going to go into what they all do. You can like YouTube this stuff. There's a shit ton of videos on what they all do individually, but essentially they all pretty much do the same shit. But what I usually use, what everybody usually uses, is what you'll end up finding when you go to these tutorials on YouTube is Complex Pro. Because Complex Pro will basically just turn the sample into something where it doesn't sound kind of choppy. Like when you hear it on the beats, right? It sounds like the audio wave, the waveform. There's like a little choppiness into it. Kind of sounds a little like laggy almost. It just sounds gross. So what Complex Pro does, just plain and simple, it takes away that lagginess and that grossness, and it kind of just cleans it up. Right? So everyone always uses Complex Pro. You don't got to go to tutorial to find out what they all do. Just use Complex Pro. It just makes any sample that you do just that much more fresh. And then again, manipulating it, manipulating the formants, manipulating the envelope until you get like a nice clean sample. All right. The formants and the envelope doesn't take into effect unless you start to pitch, right? Unless you start to pitch your vocals, your acapella and your sample. So what I'm gonna do is, the song originally is in 100 BPM, right? So what I'm gonna do is I want the song to be a little bit faster. I might make it in like an Afro beat. I might do like a little more like a house joint or something like that. I might do like a house joint. So a house joint is usually like let's say like 115, like 120, 130 most of the time. But I just want it to be a little bit faster, right? So make sure it's on Complex Pro. And after you have it on Complex Pro, I'm going to start moving the tempo up a little bit, little by little. So I got it at 130. I'm gonna leave it at 130 because that kind of sounds like housey, kind of like, you know what I'm saying, like kind of more upbeat than it was before. Before it was like a little more down tempo. Basically, if you did that, without Complex Pro and you kept it on beats, look at the difference now that I turned up the tempo. It just sounds kind of gross and like laggy a little bit, but you put it on Complex Pro. It just makes the vocals sound way cleaner, and it just use Complex Pro. And then you can fuck around with the formants, because as you go higher in tempo, you're going higher in pitch as well, right? So what the formant does is like it's up here and it's regular. This is more for like more that vocoder bass here, like that kind of like lower tone kind of thing. But the lower you put the formant for the lower you put the formant for vocals that are faster. For vocals that are faster, it just makes the vocal sound a little bit more almost chipmunky, but not too much. Just again, another way to clean up the sample. So it's up here at 100%, and I'm bringing it down. And that's all you really need to know when it comes to using like this specific thing for warping specifically, right? You want to warp it to how you want it to be, to the tempo of the song that it originally is first. And then after you have these warp markers on it, then you can start manipulating the pitch, and you can start manipulating the speed and the tempo and stuff. So I'm actually going to bring the pitch down a little bit as well. So let me see. I'll probably bring it down like here. Now, if I had that on beat, just to give you another example, and I pitched it down, this is what it would sound like. Now with Complex Pro under. And then manipulating the formant along with it as well. If you want like a more truer version of like the vocal. Or if you want that low vocoder kind of sound, you're just bringing down the formant. And then manipulating the envelope as well, just to get the kind of sound that you want. Leave it right there. So just in this little box right here, the amount of shit that you can do to a sample is literally fucking crazy. It's like you can pitch it all the way up. Or bring it just down. Bring it down an octave. So, this is why warping in Ableton is fucking king, because the second you the moment you warp stuff and you warping acapella vocals, or you could do this with drums, or you could do this with guitar, shit that you record on your vocals right here, and you can just start warping it the way you want it to the tempo that you want, and manipulating the pitch and everything like that. It just gives you just a shit ton of infinite possibilities that you can do with just a 4-bar sample. Imagine with an 8-bar, a 16-bar. You know what I'm saying? So it's like there's so many different things that you can do. Okay, so when I have the sample that I want, so I'm gonna actually pitch this back up to, let me see, 7. And again, everything is with intention. So what am I gonna do with this sample? I want to use it for something that I want to do. But I'm going to go into that a little bit later. I'm going to show you guys a different way to sample vocals as well. So let's see. So what I have here. Oh, right. That's what I was gonna do. Okay, so when you actually have it warped, I'm gonna put everything back up the way it was. And I'm gonna bring the BPM back to the way it was at 100. And then we're gonna be back to normal. All right, so I have everything back the way it was. It's back to normal. So another way that you can take a vocal a cappella or a sample. Actually, hold on. Let me see if this shit finished. That shit is still going. Jesus Christ. All right. So another thing that you can do of like another way to sample something. There's a couple different ways that you could sample something. So you could do something like this, very manual, right? Where you're taking the vocal and you are chopping it up literally right here. So I'm going to chop this part up. I want to chop that part up. I'm going to chop this part up. And again, you're being very manual with it on like the actual clip, right? Right, this is like kind of like the manual way. So if you have, or you know, just giving you guys just like really quick examples of this stuff. You know what I mean? So that's like the when you go into it, something I do a lot actually, mostly when I want to sample something or cut vocals up, I would do something like this and then maybe like delete like certain parts just to give it like some space and some rhythm behind the sample and the vocal chop, right? You know what I mean? When you loop it, it'll sound like this. So that's like a very like practical way of doing this kind of stuff when it comes to sampling and vocal chopping and stuff. I'm gonna go all the way back really quick. So that's one way to sample a vocal, right? Another way that you can sample a vocal is this way. So say after I have the whole joint warped and everything. So when you this is where it gets kind of funky. So when you click on right click on the clip, right? Right click on the clip and you go to where it says slice to new MIDI track, right? There's a bunch of different things that you can do to a sample in Ableton. You can take a loop. I'll show you kind of like really quick what that would be. I'll do it for drums, but you can do this pretty much anything. But you can take a loop. I'll say, let's go to splice. I'll take a loop really quick. This is something like housey kind of stuff. Let's do that one. All right. This is very like and again, very practical thing that Ableton does really good. And that is to take something like a loop. In this case, we'll do a drum loop, right? Solo that really quick. By the way, look how this sounds like with this on there. Now, imagine I put that fucking how I had the sample at like 130 BPM, right? I'm gonna bring it back up again. And this loop, I believe, it should be like in 130 or something like that. But again, I just made like a whatchamacallit. I used a sample and I made a new track with just this vibe, pitching it up, bringing the fucking BPM up, and it'll sound something like this. Bring the pitch down maybe. you instantly have a new song compared to what it was before, right? Just super simple, super easy. That's just an example. But again, when it comes to sampling, you're sampling literally everything. So, for example, if you want to sample this thing that Ableton does really well is taking a sample like a drum loop and doing something called converting the drums to a new MIDI track, which is something I do a lot. If there's like a loop that I really fuck with, but I don't want to use the the original sample of that producer who made that loop, I want to kind of make it my own, but use the groove. You do this on the Ableton Live on the DAW, where it'll convert the drums to a new MIDI track. So I'm going to convert the drums to a MIDI track. It does it super fucking quick. And then it just converts everything to MIDI now. So this is what it sounds like. This is what it sounds like before with the original track. Let me make it a little bit faster for the sake of this. I'll put it at 115. And then when you convert the drums to a MIDI track, then you get this. It does this very basic drum default kit that it has here, like an 808 was a 606 kit, very drum. But you could again fucking customize. I think I did it when I was doing drum production stuff. Again, you can like customize it to how you want. But essentially, you would take like a drum loop and then you would convert it to MIDI, and then you would have just a lot of versatility with that MIDI track. Change the drums, change the snare to however you want it, and then you don't have to go back to using that original producer's drum loop, which was that. Or you could layer on top of it with different sounds. The possibilities are infinite, but that is an example of like kind of like sampling a drum track. Okay, so again, we're going back to my vocal. Let's put it back to the original pitch. Any questions you have, guys, just by all means, just write it down in the chat so I can answer them for you. But so another way that you can take this sample right here, the same way that you can do with drum loops and sample them and turning it into MIDI, or sampling it into just chopping up the vocal, for example. Same thing you can do with an audio wave file. So what I'm going to go is to slice to new MIDI track on here on Ableton. You right-click it and on the sample, on the clip, and you go slice to new MIDI track. And it comes up with these different options: warp marker, transient, bar, half note, quarter note, eighth note, 16th note, and 32nd note. The reason you warp here, that you see down here, is because when you warp the sample the way you want it, you can chop it up to the by a quarter note or by how you have it set up while you're warping it. So right now I have it set up so it's sampled by every quarter note, right? And you can also do that when you slice it to the new MIDI track, and you can have it create an one slice per quarter note, or one slice per eighth note, or one slice per 16th note, or one slice per warp marker. So you can literally slice your sample according to how you warp your sample. Right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you just two ways. So the warp marker and the quarter note. So I'm going to chop it up by quarter notes, right? And slicing preset usually is built in. Kind of keep it on in default, and you want to preserve the warped timing that it has. Oh shit, my push just sampled this shit for me. It was like remix. So anyway, you essentially slice this sample into a MIDI track. So now I'm going to play the MIDI track that's right here, and I'm going to color code it, and I'm going to make it red so you guys can listen to it really quick. And what did I just do? Set as default MIDI track? No, I want it to be rojo. And then when I play it, So it basically sliced up your sample, your audio wave file into quarter notes into MIDI, right? So then when I play it on here on my push, or you have like a keyboard or you have a MIDI keyboard or whatever it is, but the great thing about using the push too is that it complements Ableton. So I don't really have to use Ableton. I don't really have to use my mouse or anything like that. I can literally just be on the push 2 and doing all this stuff literally. But I'm showing it because I can't show you what's going on with my hands. I got to show you on the fucking computer. But again, I chopped up everything. I chopped up the vocals by quarter notes, and now I have them on here on the push. And then when you have all of these slices and you have them on here on the push, that's where the shit gets crazy. That's when you can just start fucking. So once you get to that point of the sampling process, that's when the shit gets fucking crazy. It's literally like it opens up your mind to so many different things that you can do, and it just inspires you to like take a fucking vocal that you really fuck with, but you just want to fucking just chop it up into something crazy and create a song out of it. That's the whole point of sampling, obviously, but the whole point of using it with Ableton is that you have so much versatility when it comes to this kind of stuff. So that's one way that you could sample this joint. And I chopped it up into just all these different pieces. And the great thing is that, again, once you warp your fucking sample, right, and you slice it to a new MIDI track, it's going to retain the tempo and it's going to retain the warped markers that you have, which means that I can up the tempo even more to 130. I'm gonna up the tempo up to 130 now. So no matter if you put it even lower, the tempo faster or the tempo slower, those different MIDI slices are going to retain each and every one of those warped markers. You see it right here. So that's why it's so important that you learn how to warp before you start sampling like vocals and start messing around with it. Now, mind you, you don't necessarily need to, but warping is just going to make everything more neater, more organized. It's going to make everything easier for you, and it's just going to make it more fun. Because if you're sampling something and maybe like the time is off or the key is off or whatever the hell it's off, it's gonna like you're gonna lose interest in the production process. So you want to make sure that everything is good, so that when you want to adjust or you want to modulate or you want to do different things to that sample, you have access to do it. You could do it easily with like the touch of a button or a knob or whatever. You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. It's a simple. It's just warping. That's all it is. Like master warping, get to know warping when it comes to sampling, and then everything just becomes super fucking easy. And then you can even go to these individual slices, like this one right here. And maybe I want it to be a little bit shorter, so I'll just cut it out a little bit instead of playing that full clip all the way through. And then in this, so if you don't know what this is in Ableton, I'll go to here really quick. This is called your Simpler. Simpler is an instrument plugin here in Ableton. It's a stock plugin that it's basically the one thing that's used for all of the sampling stuff on here. And the cool thing about Simpler is that you can do, let me drag Simpler into here. And the cool thing about Simpler is that it's super easy to use. There's not a lot of stuff you need to know about the Simpler, the stock plugin. One things you should know, however, are, did I just go? Oh, never mind. I blacked out. So say, for example, like the Simpler instrument right here, you can drag in samples. So I'm going to drag in this sample right here into Simpler. And boom. And then you have that sample now right here. So if you want to fuck with like maybe taking like a piece of a vocal and then turning that into an instrument, Simpler is it's basically what you would use to do that kind of thing. You can do it with one shots, like if there's a horn like on Splice and you want to sample that horn, put it in a different key and fuck around with it and turn it into like a MIDI instrument. You do that with Simpler. And Simpler is literally used for everything from one shots to vocal samples to drums, all that good stuff. Anyway, so yeah, I was getting off on a tangent there with Simpler. I might do another thing on Simpler, just specifically on Simpler, because I think it's definitely worth knowing all the stuff that you can do with Simpler on Ableton. But we're just gonna focus on the sampling process right here. So anyway, so yeah, so now we have this. And I think they have it on here. And then like these little like knobs right here, you can adjust like the attack on the things. Adjust the decay. You know, just so many different things that you can do with that. Another way that you guys can sample is, I'm gonna delete this really quick. I think that's pretty straightforward. You take the sample, convert it to MIDI after it's warped, and then you could fuck around with the sample and create some crazy ass shit with it. Another thing you can do, delete this, and you have your sample warped and everything good to go. Go to I guess it's on here. Convert to harmony or no, you would basically. All right, I guess I only have it on here, but on the push, I can convert this sample to the Simpler, right? And what it pretty much just did right now is that it turned the sample into an instrument now, kind of like a synth. So, for example, on here, on my push, so it basically put the sample into the key of whatever key that I have on here on Ableton, right? So I have it on A minor. Let me see. So I have it, yeah, on A minor. Let's see. Let's make it like D minor, which is a lower key, which is why it made the vocal come down in pitch. Right? Or so the reason why people do that is because they want to do like, it's kind of like one of those like house like EDM drops where you're taking like a piece of a song and you're messing around with the piece of that vocal as an instrument. You don't use necessarily the entire sample, because if you did, that would sound crazy, but it would sound like. So this instance of sampling, you really just want to use it for like one piece of the vocal that you're sampling. So kind of like, let's say we want to use, let me show you, maybe this part right here. Let's play it. Yeah, something simple like that. Shut up. Something simple like that where I can take this part. And just turns that vocal into an instrument. Janessa, you have a question? Go for it. I want your questions. I need a new thingy. So yeah, that's pretty much what you can do with that kind of thing. Can you change a vocal sample into MIDI and then turn the MIDI into a piano, or like a violin? Yes. I think I know what you're talking about. So let's say, are you saying like maybe taking like the melody of the vocal? So maybe if I sing la 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 la, I can take that vocal, turn it into MIDI, and then I could take that same melody and turn it into a P and then use it as a piano. Is that what you mean? I'm trying to see if that's what you mean. Because there's something that you can do also. Like, for example, I have this melody right here, right? And there's a bunch of melodies happening right there, but like a single melody. Hold on, let me see if I can do it on. Okay. So yeah, we're on the same page then. So say for example, the vocal that I'm using right now is a bad example, but say for example you have a vocal. All right, and let's say something a very simple melody. Yeah, this might be a good example. So I could take something like this. Right? Drag that vocal sample here, and it usually only works with like a single melody. It works better with a single melody, sort of like this one. But say I have this melody right here, and I'm playing it. Ooh, that shit loud as fuck. Jesus, why you gotta be so loud? So that's a pretty simple, straightforward melody, right? So what you do is you take this melody right here and you right click it, and they have all these other options too, where you can convert melody to new MIDI track, right? So you press convert melody to new MIDI track, boom. So Ableton is its conversion from a vocal sample to MIDI is usually not that great. It's like a hit or miss usually. But let's see what it did here. So let's mute this one and then let's check what it did. So usually it did it did a pretty okay job to taking that vocal into a melody and turning it into MIDI. And you kind of just have to like adjust. I'm hearing this, and because obviously I do music, whatever. I can kind of like adjust it to how it probably sounds like the melody from the sample, right? So what I'm hearing is na, na, right, and then that's like the main melody that I'm hearing, and you can just take that and then you can duplicate it this way. Fuck you, bro. And then you can duplicate that. And then yeah, then if you want to take that MIDI, now that you have like the MIDI of that melody, now you can just kind of put whatever the fuck you want. So just say like I want to do like a piano. Is there a piano on here? Just type in piano. On all results and just say like a warm, soft piano. Boom. But yeah, that's essentially what you can do with it. So like you can take like a melody, then it won't always be the same, but you can, like you said, you can play around with it, come up with stuff with it and shit. Yeah. But when it comes to sampling, like if I wanted to sample like this vocal right here, right? This little piece. I can slice this piece to the new MIDI track, or rather I can take it and turn it into into the simpler instrument. Right? And I just want to use maybe like this portion of that vocal sample. And then you can even make chords out of that shit. And again, a lot of that stuff is very hit or miss. You got to know the key. You got to know, like, it's a very musical kind of thing when it comes to this stuff. But it is possible for sure. But when it comes to sampling, you don't want to necessarily use a vocal chop to make chords. Not all the time. It's better just to do that on your own. Like, just record the chords. And for this specific stuff, when you're vocal chopping a sample, when you're sampling like a vocal, you kind of want to use like an element of it depending on what you're using it for. But the two versions that I showed you is like if you want to like break it up on a drum pad, for example, or if you want to take that piece of a vocal and you just want to use it as an instrument, like a synth instrument, and you sample it that way. So there's two different ways that you can do that as well. No, you're good. Absolutely. More questions, the better. I just gave a random instrument, but yeah, I can play around with that. My bad unintended question just popped up in my head. Nope, more questions, please. There's no such thing as a dumb question, so ask away because I don't know all the answers either. Actually, there are such things as dumb questions. I'm gonna take that back. There is such thing as dumb questions, but I will answer. I will answer to them as best as I possibly can. So what I'm going to do right now, because it's supposed to be kind of like a more shorter one, is I'm going to basically chop up this vocal that I have right here already. I'm going to make a song out of it. So you guys can kind of see my process of how I basically vocal chop and I sample like instruments and stuff like that. So what did I do before? What I did before was I took this and I sliced it to a new MIDI track by quarter notes right here. Boom, boom, boom. And then now I have all this stuff here. Cool. So now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go back to that audio track that I used from before, which I thought was pretty cool. Was it house was I put, right? Yeah, it was this one. Yeah, this shit was fire. All right. Take that. Cool. So maybe, yeah, I think I'll probably do that. This, like that. So usually what I usually sample stuff. I usually sample something if I want to use it for a drop, right? So I might have like a song, right? And it'll probably start off something like this. So let's say, let's give it like 16 bars, right? A good 16 before in the actual drop of the song, which will be what I'm going to chop up the vocals into, right? So let's do this. And then the vocals come in. And then I'm just going to use this part. Right, as like kind of like a, you know, just like the beginning of the song or whatever. So now what I'm going to think of is how am I going to drop the joint into something where I can chop up the vocals. So now what I'll do is I'll loop the drums or whatever instrument or whatever you're going to use, and I'm actually going to change the pitch as well. So I'm going to pitch it down to like right here. cool. Sir. Actually, hold up. I made a mistake. 1 second. So first, I'm going to pitch it down to 3. Cool. I'm going to pitch it down first. And then I'm going to slice a new MIDI track so we can retain the warp and the pitch. Oh, I didn't do it. So actually, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep it the way it is. There's always a workaround this stuff. All right, cool. And then same thing that we did. All right, so now I'm just gonna focus on making like the drop, what I want it to sound like if it were to drop into something, right? So I'm gonna loop this part. So that I already have it in my head. When it drops, it'd be like something like. Something very simple. You don't want to do too much when you're vocal chopping and you're sampling the vocals and stuff. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to record that really quick. Oh, that's cool too. Let's try something like this. Like. So boom, got that. Now I'm going to just quantize everything. And so everything is according to the grid, and let's hear what we got. It's muted. Wait. Oh, no, it's not. It's got to move to the right a little bit. You fucking cunt. Oh, I'm sorry. I shouldn't say that word. I'm such a piece of shit. Hold on. Shout out Women's History Month. I love women. I promise. And you could even adjust the MIDI clip to how you want it as well too. You can make it even shorter. Right, you can have some parts that are a little bit shorter, some MIDI clips that are a little bit shorter or longer than the other ones. So maybe like do something like this. Or maybe like belen belen. Or like more chopped up like this. All right, let's do this. Copy and paste that. And let's just duplicate that part really quick. So Nefertiti can pretend that this is like a Drake vocal if she wants. But the idea is to take a vocal and to chop it up and to sample it into something that you can use for a remix or for, you know, a full-fledged kind of like song, right? So let's do something like this. So just to kind of give you an idea of what it would probably sound like. So it'd be like, Say for example, you're kind of trying to come up with like a drop or some shit like that, right? So maybe you can like do because again, there's so many different ways that you can sample vocals and stuff. And this like you can do the manual way, you can chop it up like the way I did it before, or you can use the vocal and you can make it into like some kind of instrument, right? Or you can do something like this as well, where you're anticipating like a drop and you want to use the vocals as a way to anticipate the drop. So it would be something like this. Right? This is a very simple thing. And then let's go even fucking crazier with these vocals and shit, right? So let's kind of like mix like the vocals together when we're sampling these joints, right? So it could be something like this. And then take maybe the second part of that vocal, right? Which is this part right here, and then add that to the next part right here. To the other couple of bars in that phrase. And then, you know, it's all just copy, paste, delete, you know, leaving like those little pockets in between and stuff. Right? Get really funky with it. Now, the last thing I'll show you guys is, say you want to add variation and stuff to the song that you're remixing, to the acapella that you're chopping up or whatever. I still have this B kind of like section right here. I didn't forget about this shit, right? So I'm gonna put this on here, and we're gonna see how this part sounds. Now, this is gonna put it to Complex Pro because I didn't do anything to it. And then it's also not warped, but I'm gonna see if it will kind of like warp itself, because the song is in the BPM that it originally was, so it was very easy to manipulate, and you can make it faster, slower, change the pitch or whatever. So I'm gonna add the drums underneath it and see how it sounds like after this section right here, and see what it does. And then we'll see if we have to like adjust anything in that sample, and we'll just sample it right here on the spot live, and then just make sure everything is bumping and it's on the fucking grid to the song. Now that just sounds fire as hell, first of all. But also I could, you know, move some things around. I could warp some things around. Like you see how this right here, I'm bringing it up a little bit more. You see how this part right here is kind of like not necessarily on the grid. Sometimes that's okay. Sometimes you don't want everything to be kind of like robotic and be like. Sometimes you want it to kind of swing a little bit, so it got that groove. You know what I mean? So I could like do this, right? And I could move it over a little bit, but I like the swing that it adds when it's during like this rapping part and stuff. By the way, fast rapping like this doesn't sound, to me it sounds kind of like weird, but it still sounds kind of fire. I don't know why. Maybe because it's in Spanish. And I'm going to take this little build-up section right here, and I'm going to put it back here. And then I'm going to kind of just copy and paste this whole thing over here. just so we can do all this shit for reference so you see how it sounds like. So I'm going to take it from just the beginning and I'm going to let it play through and see literally what I created just by sampling the same four. By the way, this is only a 4-bar vocal that I sampled, and we made like a hook. We made like a verse kind of like section for it, and we repeated some parts. We chopped it up, and we made some parts with some pockets in between and all this stuff, and then we added like a second verse in between it just to give the song some variation. So again, just so many different things that you can do with sampling and with Ableton, just what it offers, you know. So here's gonna sound like in full reference for the whole thing from the beginning. I'll play from here because see if I can add a bass to this. Hey. Something like that. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So again, let's quick recap about the whole thing, because it was a lot of information, but pretty much the art of sampling when it comes to Ableton Live is just warping. Learn to warp, learn how to do all this, learn how to get really, it gets really tedious really fast, but when you start small, it gets better, because then you can start just building off of that small piece of that sample, and then yeah, you can just kind of go from there. And if you want to take other pieces of other parts of the song that you're trying to sample, let me see. Oh, it finally fucking finished, literally at the end of the stream. It takes a while, but if you have an acapella, a song, and you want to just strip again the vocals from the instrumentation, something very, very simple that you can do is drag it into audio strip, and then it will separate everything. And this is what it sounds like right now. So without the vocals, this is what it sounds like. I mean, without the instrumentation. And you can kind of hear like the underlying instrumentation underneath it when you do something like this, when you're trying to isolate it. So if you isolate like a Drake song and you want to isolate the vocals from that part, you're going to hear a little bit of it, but it's not like anything crazy. Again, make sure that the information is a WAV file so you have enough data within that file so you can extract better, accurate, more stuff from it. Which is still fine, you know, and then you have the instrumentation underneath and no vocals. Yeah, and the vocals will be very, very faint in the background. Again, it's just all about having the best possible wave, just having the wave file for that stuff. And like I said, you put it into audio strip, you take the acapella, and you drag it into right here, mixed in key, so it can tell you the tempo. And once you know the tempo, you drag it into here, and then you adjust your tempo in Ableton Live. and then you just start warping. And after you start warping, you just fuck around with it as much as possible. Have as much fun with this kind of thing as much as possible, and then the different ways to sample the vocals that you warped are just infinite. From bring turning it into a drum rack, which I had on here, and fucking around with different parts of the clips and different things, or you can turn a piece of your vocal into a into an instrument using like the simpler plugin. I'll probably do a more in-depth um, kind of like live stream on simpler, because I think it would be cool just to learn all like the parameters about simpler, because again, it just makes a lot of things easier for you when you start learning how to sample like this, and simpler becomes like a very just a very important tool when it comes to that part of it. But yeah, guys, that's it. That's pretty much it. If you guys have any questions at all about sampling, about vocal chopping, specifically on Ableton, because I'm not familiar with like FL loops or Logic or any of that stuff, please hit my DM on Instagram or on YouTube, or whatever the case may be, so I can answer your questions. But yeah, man, the sampling portion of it, if you guys ever get a chance to get a push 2 also, if you have Ableton, definitely get a push 2, because it just makes a lot of shit really easy, and it makes creating just way more fun, and it just starts inspiring you more to create and sampling stuff. So definitely look into that. I wanted to tell you guys, what did I want to tell you guys? Oh yes, next week I will be in LA. I will not be in Jersey, so I won't be doing any live streams next week on Wednesday. I'll try to figure something out. Maybe I can. I'm not really sure, but I'll be working. I'm going to be shooting 2 music videos out there in Los Angeles, so I will not be live streaming next week. But rest assured, the following week I'll be back in Jersey, and I will be going back to live streams. So most likely I'll be doing that simpler live stream the following week when I get back from Los Angeles. But yeah, like I said, any questions, please feel free to hit me up. I'm an open book. Anything that we went over today, it'll be on the stream. It'll be on YouTube. But if there's something you want me to elaborate a little bit more on, by all means, just hit me up, and I'll be happy to answer those questions for you guys. All right? Let's check the stream really quick. Thank you guys so much for being here. I appreciate you guys taking the time to just check it out and let me spew my bullshit to you guys, and hopefully you guys learned something. I was actually learning a lot of stuff as I was doing this stuff too. It kind of inspired me to do even more sampling, because I rarely do sampling just in general. Just because I have so much workflow in sampling, it's one of those things where it just takes so much of your time. But now I'm inspired, and I want to make some new joints with this shit. So thank you guys so much again for joining the live stream. I'll be back very, very soon, not next week, but the following week. And I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful week. And I will check you guys out later. My name is Laud Ito. Please follow me at Laud Ito on all social medias, on YouTube specifically. Tell your friends to come join the live stream if they're interested in learning about this stuff. Make sure you like and subscribe to this stuff. And yeah, I'll see you guys very, very soon. Have a good one. Thank you, Janessa. Thank you, Social. I appreciate you, man. Y'all have a good one.
Que siguen nunca negaré tu presencia. Eres mía, soy mía. Y en seguridad no te atro. Mía, 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 mía.